Commission meeting to order. Brandy, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Kays.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Culhane.
Here.
Aletsky.
Present.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Spire.
Here.
And Ford, Dolly, and Brink are absent. We have a quorum, and we have 6 members here, so the Plan Commission is a majority vote to recommend an item to council. So today that would be 4 yes votes.
Thank you, Brandy. The third item on the agenda is invitation for public comment participants submittal. Is there anybody that has anything to speak on that isn't on today's agenda? If so, we'll get to it at the end of the agenda, after the regular agenda. Going once, twice. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Spear. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item 5 is approval of the minutes, approval of minutes from the July 7th meeting. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Oletsky, second by Kays. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. 6 is the regular agenda. 6A, Commission consideration of resolution number 2022-33, the plat of lots 14 through 25, Block 2, Willow Creek Village, 5th addition to the Municipality of Watertown. Do we want to do a motion second to get discussion? I know we do that on the county side, but, or do
No.
we just go roll into the description?
We don't have bylaws, so we can
We-
do it at your discretion.
I like it in the county side when we motion and second it, and then we open the discussion up, because there's no public discussion, right?
Right.
So I'd entertain a motion on this amendment, or excuse me, resolution.
Spiral, I'll make a motion to approve as presented over.
I'll second.
Perfect. And take it away, Brandy.
Okay, thank you, Liam. So this is the plat of lots 14 through 25, Block 2 of Willow Creek Village, 5th edition. So previously, these lots, as you can see on GIS here, existed in a different subdivision of Willow Creek Village. So they are zoned R3, which is the multifamily residential district. So today they exist as 3. What they're wanting to do is subdivide them further into 6 lots. Where I'll pull up the plat here. Or no, sorry, they want to subdivide each lot into 4. So you can see where now we will have 12. They'll be subdividing into 12 R3 lots. And so there will be 4 plexes on each lot. So each existing lot will be subdivided into 4 separate lots. So kind of like a condo plat. But the fact that we're platting them as lot lines, then we have included private street easements and along with a private street maintenance agreement. And so you can see here, this one is actually providing secondary access to the stencil addition where those apartments are. I'll show you here. So there was a pre-existing easement where you can see it in this dotted hatched area. That was the pre-existing secondary access for fire for that property to the south. And then so now they are shifting that so they will be able to utilize that as the driveway as well as have connectivity to that southern lot whenever that is developed, and they'll connect to that. Then these other 2 private streets, they have turnaround easements that meet the International Fire Code standards for turnarounds, and they will function in the case that a fire truck needs to access this area or these back lots more so, that they would have sufficient turnaround. And the private streets will also be providing the sole access for all of the lots, and specifically it's providing access to these southern lots that now do not have frontage to 2nd Avenue Southeast. So that is why this plat is before Plan Commission and ultimately Council, because we also, because we're accepting these private streets as providing the frontage, and then also approving the private street maintenance agreement that will be recorded in conjunction with this plat. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Quick question on private streets. Is there language in the agreements that, say somewhere down the road, those 4 adjoining landowners say, we don't want this to be a private street anymore, we want the city to take it over? They don't have that ability to ask that question. It will be in perpetuity.
Right, and so segments like this, private streets have to be 28 foot wide, no requirement for curb and gutter. They still, with their building permits, they'll submit them as if they're driveways, but we'll make sure that they're meeting our engineering design standards. They would not be able to meet the engineering design standards to dedicate these as public right-of-way. Also with that, garbage collection will be from 2nd Avenue, as well as mail delivery. So, and that's really because they're private streets. They have to be maintained by the private property owners, the successors of these lots. So the city, if it comes time that they need to be improved or maintained, that would be on the private property owners to come up with an agreement on how they're going to do that. But it's also so that you're not getting the heavy city equipment for snow removal and garbage collection driving on them and potentially, destroying them or impacting them. So that's another thing too. Snow removal is on the private property owners to have that privately done.
So the way I see it, it's going to be kind of like what they already have, just a little farther west from there. But those are considered condominiums, the other ones, where they look like fourplexes, but they're condos. Are these also going to be condominiums? Or are they going to be townhouses?
So they will be in the same, they'll be constructed in the same fashion, but it makes it, when these are shared drives, that's where and especially because the condos then become, their own lot. So they technically don't have access. So better practice is how we're doing it now so that we're securing that they know that these are shared accesses and they're private drives, private streets. But it just makes that a little more clear for future property owners because it'll be the same concept. It'll just be a little more memorialized.
One quick question. As the lot to the south further develops, I'm going to presume into more R3 type apartment housing, and we have the access easement coming in from the south to provide emergency services. Will we, once that gets built, will we shut that easement to the north off? Otherwise, we're going to end up having a street.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So it is and that is specific here, that it is for to serve as emergency vehicle ingress and egress to the adjoining lot to the south. So it's not for a secondary access for tenants occupying the future apartment complex that would go on that property.
There's not going to be a connectivity to that moving forward.
No. So when this lot develops, that's really something that we would want to require that property owner of Lot 2 Stencil First Edition to put up some sort of barrier fence that could be accessed if the fire department needed to, but otherwise that it would not be a through route. Good question.
Just so I'm clear here, Brandy, are we doing 12 fourplexes or 3 fourplexes?
3 fourplexes.
Okay.
12 structure, or 12 dwellings.
Okay. But there's and I guess it doesn't really matter for the purposes of the plat. I just was curious, if you've got a road going through the middle, how do you have 4 units?
Oh, okay. So, all right. So there will be a fourplex here, and then you'll see they'll probably do
two duplexes. Okay.
Yep. Sorry about that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, all right, I just wasn't, again, and I don't know if it necessarily matters exactly for the plat, I just wanted to make sure as it related
No,
to the private streets.
Yep, no, that's a good catch there. Sorry about that.
Nope,
Brandy, so again, with garbage collection on those southern units, I mean, they're responsible, do they cart their garbage up to Second Street, or do they do private garbage and not our problem?
No, they have to still utilize city garbage collection, but they would have to bring them to Second Avenue. So they'd have to pull them up there. Similar situation up in Valley View with Block 5. They have to do the same for those middle units.
The people that have them condos to the east of there, they have to bring their garbage up to Second also.
Yeah, so this is what I was referring to. So there's a private street that goes through where these duplexes are in Valley View. So there's 14th, here's Second over here, and then the water tower, and then so this block has a private street. Same thing goes with that agreement that so these middle units have to bring their receptacle to the public right of way. And that's just so you're not getting that heavy equipment driving on that street and causing more maintenance issues for those successors.
Can you explain that fire entrance a little bit clearer to me? I guess I'm a little lost on that when you said that you'll have a barrier there to the apartment building to the south.
Yeah, so that will be like for just private traffic, so that when a future apartment complex goes in here, that you're not getting people cutting through this private drive because they're not responsible for maintenance of it. It is strictly for a secondary access for fire or emergency services. So we can definitely have a barrier where only the fire department, police, that they would have access to it, where otherwise it will be closed off. Because we wouldn't want that for the private property owners in these duplexes to have that constant flow of traffic.
Okay, but didn't we, when we approved that apartment building going in there, didn't we discuss that someday we'd have another exit out of there to alleviate some of the stress coming on to 19th? Wasn't that kind of the whole plan, guys? I mean,
There was discussion regarding that.
Okay.
Because
So now
we were
we're-
going to be dumping another, if there's another 25 units, you'd be dumping another 200 cars a day.
right. That's why I'm asking
Out on
this,
the
because now
19th.
we are really landlocking that unit. Everybody's coming out of that one entrance. So I think we need to discuss that
I
a little
remember
bit.
the neighbors were having some issues with that to the north, I believe, weren't they?
I agree. And so that's where I think before we just rubber stamp, we might want to consider this a little bit. I'm just concerned that we are,
How many units is that current apartment that's built there? Does anybody know?
I think it's 104 or 7, or maybe it's in the 70s.
I think it's 170.
I think so too.
In the existing one, and they would probably mirror that in the next one. So
That's-
theoretically, you're talking close to 3,000 cars a day coming out of there under normal counts.
And we would ask that they would do a traffic impact study, most likely on their next phase. 19th is a collector, and so we would want to see that high density filtered into that street rather than going through a residential neighborhood.
I agree.
But it's so close to 212.
I get that, Brandy, but I think that obviously, this is the time to talk about that. Yeah, I know it's not any better to shove it up north, but in the same breath, that is where the bypass is, so I'm just saying 300 cars, it's a lot of cars coming out of one entrance.
I do remember that we had discussion, and we were talking about the stacking that happens at 19th Street and 212. And while we do have, you know, several hundred feet where the cemetery is, which allows for some, we know that we're not going to be getting cars dumping in there. I know that that was an issue that was discussed, and I can't remember it, where we were at the end of that discussion.
You know, and I certainly don't want to be dismissive because I remember that discussion too. I was there that day, but I haven't personally noticed since the construction of this, and I think they're all full or nearly full in terms of that. I haven't noticed stacking. I know that was our concern 2 or 3 years ago when that came in front of us, but I haven't personally noticed it even with the construction and the four-way stop.
And I guess I haven't seen, have you heard complaints from anyone at the city staff about traffic at that intersection?
No.
Other than the construction that's going on right now.
Right. And the thing is actually how this existed before, there was never the opportunity, because this previous easement was just also for emergency vehicle access. So how it sits today and what we're doing now, I mean, to require an adjacent property owner that is not, you know, they're not the same owners, that makes it difficult on how this was platted originally. And I think that that would be something that when they want to do their next phase for the stencil first edition, that would be something that they would have to prove, that they had sufficient, that the traffic impact study was sufficient to dump onto 19th, or they're just not going to be able to do as many units.
Thanks, Brandy. And that was kind of my thoughts too, is that it isn't the onus on stencil. I mean, at that point,
Yes.
I mean, he knows it's a land, or excuse me, but I'm referring to as he, because I remember him here, I think, but whoever is representative or whoever has that company now, I mean, isn't the onus on them to establish that they can, when that issue arises? And if he's got to negotiate something or maintain the private, you know, or somehow, I don't know what it looks like, but.
Yeah, I remember originally when McElhaney brought the property in initially, and it was gonna be one big long cul-de-sac, and I think that's what was discussed initially, and, I think it's good that we talk about it, so it's just at least we're all recalling that will have to be addressed down the road.
Yeah, yep, I think it's a good discussion. But the thing is they wouldn't, so say they can't do another 170 unit apartment building, they would still have opportunity to develop. They would just know their threshold of what their traffic impact studies showed at that time.
Right. And I do agree, we want to be dumping the traffic onto 19th Street and not funneling it back up to the north.
Right. Another question, Brandy, does Second Street go up to the bypass then, as it curves around?
Yep.
It does go all the way, yep, okay, thank you.
Really good discussion, everyone. Is there anything else for the good of the order? We've got a motion and a second. I can do a voice vote on this too, right, Brandy?
Yep.
Or Mr. Roberts? All right, I'll call for, all those in favor of the motion or the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 7 is open public comment. This is the time to talk about whatever you want to talk about that wasn't on the agenda. Anybody, ma'am, out there in the audience? Anybody
She's just
in
a
this?
representative for.
Anybody in the cyber universe? All right, thank you. New business, 8. Any new business?
None that I have. I guess I'll just give you guys an update that we did host our flood risk open house yesterday evening at the zoo. That was from 5:30 to 7. Had a decent turnout. And so that was to go over or to discuss what will be changing when the map updates come through. So the FEMA representatives and then state representatives through the Emergency Management Office, as well as Cottington County officials were there as well. And so as these progress, they're anticipating that the maps will be effective fall of 2023. So there's still quite a bit of time. The next steps will be they'll issue a letter of final determination, and then that will start our 90-day comment or appeal period. And so that's where city staff will continue to be pursuing this and getting as much public information out there so that everyone can be aware of what impacts or what new flood risks their property may have. I did send out letters specifically to property owners whose Lomas or their Lomax, so that includes the Lomas, Lomar Fs, Lomars, all of those, any letter of map change that will not be automatically revalidated through the map update process. And so that they were aware that that's happening, because obviously that's very impactful. But it's not only those properties that might be impacted by this map update, because there are slight shifts where some areas are going to decrease, some will increase. So it's just good and just public information, public knowledge to be aware of what these map changes are going to be. City staff is always available if anyone wants to give us a call. We also have a link on our website that I'll actually just show in case anyone's curious that might listen in. So when you go to departments and then go planning and zoning, so city website, watertownsouthDakota.us or watertownsd.us, and then go departments, planning and zoning, and then on the right hand panel here, there's this FEMA National Flood Hazard Layer Viewer of map updates. And you can click on that. And then you get this page, and then go to the National Flood Hazard Layer Viewer. And then when you it'll bring up the nation. And then you can, in this corner, specifically put in your address. And then I always just go Watertown. Oops. And then you can zoom in. Like I said, it'll bring you right to your specific address if you're interested. And the layers, and actually I realized this last night. I need to update this link because it'll show purple and yellow. And so the purple is areas of decrease, the yellow is areas of increase. Otherwise, all of this gets very confusing for the public to comprehend. So that's an easy rule of thumb there. And so if you zoom into your property and you see yellow, you can give us a call and we can explain further. And or if you're just curious altogether, we can definitely just pop it in and look it up. I will update this link so we have the latest and greatest on here. But otherwise, we'll continue to push public outreach and hopefully have some more open houses too. That gives people the opportunity to just come in, and city staff can be available, or county officials, and we can provide we can answer any questions or provide any feedback of what's kind of going on with this. So I just wanted to give an update on where we're at with the pending map updates.
Thank you, Brandy. Any other new business from the board?
Any closer to finding a replacement for you?
Yes, she starts next Tuesday, but we'll wait till she starts, because I'm actually not sure of proper protocol. So
So no announcement yet, but hope, other than there's somebody.
We have hired somebody, and she will be starting on Tuesday.
Nice.
Fantastic news.
This is my first hire, so I don't want to publicly mess up and spill the beans too soon. So
hopefully we can announce it next meeting then, perhaps.
Yep.
Or,
Yep, definitely. And yeah, and I can even we'll get it out there to you guys. So
cool.
That's very exciting.
I don't want to jump the gun, but I was asked to be part of a child care work group. We met yesterday for the first time. There was some discussion in brainstorming that dealt with city regulations that I think our board, our planning and zoning, touches on, the CUP type stuff. And I know we've discussed that in the past early on when maybe 3-4 years ago, we talked about it a little bit. I anticipate that issue will come up again. I don't know what it looks like, and I don't want to make any suggestions until the group sort of determines what it is that they think it would help or be helpful. But I know there was some discussion in the context of conditional uses and employees, home business, home occupations, and that kind of stuff.
We're seeing that all throughout the state, and most recently, I was just reading the Brookings newspaper this morning. They had a group similar to, I think, what you're participating in, contracted with a consultant. They came on and they figured that they need 900 spots in Brookings, and I'm going to see it's probably comparable here for locations, and all cards on the table. My wife does daycare for a living, and so we do know that it's a need, and whatever we can do to facilitate the permitting process of those is going to be helpful to our local industries.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like yet, but I anticipate that in the next 3 or 4 months that I'll come or somebody from the work group, and I'm kind of an informal liaison. I don't know if that was intentional or not, or if it just happened to be that I was somebody that was gullible to say yes. But I anticipate there being some sort of a proposal as it relates to planning and zoning, and that maybe making it a little bit easier to get it, or maybe a little clearer as it relates to childcare and home occupations. And I know one of the concerns was, potential employees, backup folks and stuff. I know that gets a little bit hairy, but anyways, that's all. Any other new business from anybody else? Number 9, old business. Anything from the days gone past? All right, executive session. Any need?
Nope.
Do I have to vote on adjournment, or is that we're adjourned? We're adjourned.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Adios.